Since 2017, Cloud Functions for Firebase has been the programmatic glue that binds the Firebase apps we build together. It lets us run server-side code in a trusted environment without managing or scaling our own servers. That means we can do really useful stuff, like send a notification in Firebase Cloud Messaging when a user receives a new chat message that shows up in Firestore, or resize images to improve their loading time on devices with poor internet connection, and even ping our team's chat room when a test run is completed in Firebase Test Lab. And across Firebase and Google Cloud, we've been working hard to make Cloud Functions for Firebase even more useful with second-gen functions. In fact, the infrastructure behind second-gen functions has now graduated from public preview and is generally available, meaning we're confident you can use it to write production-quality apps. My name is Jeff.
And my name is Daniel.
And we're excited to talk about some new stuff that makes functions more accessible to write. Daniel is also going to take us behind the scenes of second-gen functions, so that we can learn how to optimize both the cost and efficiency of the functions we write. Let's start with something new. We write functions as triggers that respond to events in our app, whether that's an HTTP request, a new document being written in Firestore, or a user requesting to sign in. And we've traditionally written these triggers in JavaScript or TypeScript, because Node.js has always been the only language supported by Cloud Functions for Firebase. Until now. We're excited to announce that Cloud Functions for Firebase now supports Python. To write a function with Python, I start with the Firebase init command from the Firebase command line interface. It will generate the files I need to get started. Most important of these is main.py, which is where I'll put my function code. In main.py, I'm going to import from the new Firebase Functions Python library. In this case, I want to create a callable function, which can be called directly from an app with the Firebase client SDKs. So I'm going to import the HTTPS function module. The HTTPS module's onCall function is a special kind of wrapper function called the decorator. It tells Firebase how to wire up the code below it as a callable function, and is also the spot where we can pass in configuration about how we'd like the function to behave. And then I'll write a function that, in this case, just always returns hello world. That, plus a Firebase deploy, is all I need to send my Python code out into the world. The public preview of Python functions supports the full range of triggers supported by Node second-gen functions. That means the Python admin SDK makes it easy to talk to Firebase services from a function, and the Firebase emulator suite supports Python functions for fast, local, iterative development. I'm really excited about this, because I hope that this opens up all sorts of opportunities for the Pythonistas out there, including science and big data applications with libraries like NumPy, and machine learning applications with TensorFlow. And speaking of machine learning, let's build something to get a clearer idea of the kind of things we can do with Python functions. I work in the New York City Google office, and one thing that I think is underappreciated in New York City, a city known for its huge buildings, is all the cool trees. And to tell the world about it, and since I'm a terrible poet, I want to make an app that lets anyone ask the new Palm API to create a poem about trees in New York. I've already built out the front end of my app. It's a web app that uses the Firebase JavaScript SDK to send a request to a Cloud function when somebody clicks the Compose button. The part we need to implement today is the function, which will call the Palm API to generate the poem and send the result back to the web app so it can display it to the user. So let's build the function. To start, we'll set up a callable function just like before. I'll again import from the Firebase Functions library and define a function with the onCall decorator. To talk to the Palm API, I'll need an API key that I have stored in Cloud Secret Manager. This keeps that key safe. To access the key, I'll use the params module in the Firebase Functions library. Then, I can specify which secret I'm looking for and also pass the secret to my function decorator so that the value of the secret gets bound to my function so I can access it later. Inside my function, I'll parse the request that comes in so that I know which tree to write a poem about. I'll then insert that into a prompt for a poem. Finally, we'll use the Palm API. I'll configure it using the secret I set up earlier, send the poem request I built, and return the poem back to my app. And here it is working. In about 10 lines of Python code, we've done what I set out to do. We have a working API that will create poems about trees in New York City. Now, I can start sharing this web app with the world as is. But since this is a second-gen function, I know that there is additional configuration available to make my function perform even better, whether it is written in Python or Node. And I just so happen to have the tech lead of Cloud Functions for Firebase here with me. Hey Daniel, any advice?
I'm so glad you asked. The second generation of Cloud Functions for Firebase brings together substantial enhancements. We can set request timeout to up to an hour for those functions with longer than usual processing time. We can create more powerful instances with up to 32 gigs of memory. And finally, functions can now be deployed to new regions like London or Delhi. Second generation of Cloud Function also gives you more granular control over how your function uses the available compute resources. Concurrency is a new configuration only available for second generation of Cloud Functions, and it is one of my favorites. When used properly, concurrency can improve both performance and lower the cost of your function. Before I talk about concurrency, let's review JEP's code and see how Cloud Function executes the code in response to an API request. When a request arrives from JEP's web app to generate a poem about trees in New York, Cloud Function will look for a virtual computer, also known as an instance, to run JEP's code to process the request. Let's walk through JEP's code from a perspective of the instance that Cloud Function has found for us. First, the instance gets the type of tree species from the request body. Then, the instance makes a request to the POM API and waits for a response containing the generated poem. This step takes some time, maybe on the order of a few seconds, waiting for a response from the POM API. Finally, the instance wraps up the poem in a response object to complete the execution. And off goes our request, carrying back the poem to spark creativity for JEP's inner poet. So far, so good. Let's consider another case. What happens when another request arrives while the instance is already processing a request? Traditionally, the rule has been one instance, one request. So, when the instance we have is busy processing a request, Cloud Function needs to spin up a brand new instance to process it. Now, we have two active instances handling the incoming request in parallel. This simple, predictable scaling behavior is at the heart of Cloud Functions. The process of spinning up a new instance is totally automatic and allows APIs built on Cloud Functions to handle many requests in parallel. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind with this scaling model. First, creating a new instance takes some time that will add to the overall time taken to process the request. This is what is often referred to as cold start. With cold start, we may see the API respond slower than usual from time to time, and this is because Cloud Function needs extra time to prepare a new instance, and once it's ready, execute the server code. Second, having two active function instances will generally cost more than having one active function instance. The good news is that with Cloud Functions, you only pay whenever your function instance is serving requests, not when it's sitting idle, waiting for the next request to arrive. So, how does concurrency fit in here? Let's take a few steps back to the moment when a new request arrived while our function instance was busy processing a request. As I mentioned before, one instance, one request. But is our instance actually busy? Inspecting JEP's code again, I'm noticing that this busy instance is just waiting for the response from the POM API. It isn't doing any demanding calculations that require a lot of its CPU and memory resources. It probably has some room to spare to do other useful stuff, like, handle another incoming request, but because of the one instance, one request rule, it couldn't. Now, this is where concurrency steps in. Concurrency defines the maximum number of requests that can be processed simultaneously by a single instance. In the second generation of Cloud Functions, we can set concurrency to be greater than 1, allowing instance to share resource available on it among many requests. That means that when Cloud Function receives a new request, instead of spinning up a new instance to process it, we can use the existing instance to process both requests. Let's take concurrency for a spin. Configuring concurrency setting is easy. Simply pass in the value of concurrency we want for our API. I'm going to try 20 here, and redeploy the function. And now, let's put concurrency to the test. I'm going to put Jeff's second-gen function under a modest load and see how many instances were spun up to serve all requests. First up, a function deployed with concurrency set to 1. Under a modest load, our function with concurrency set to 1, following the first-gen 1 request, 1 instance model, required about 18 instances to handle all the incoming requests. Now, I'm going to keep everything the same code, same setup, but change the concurrency to 20. The function with concurrency set to 20 only requires 2 instances to handle all the incoming requests. That's a lot better than 18. This is exciting for a few reasons. 1, requiring fewer instances means that Cloud Function didn't have to spin up a new instance very often. Remember, whenever Cloud Function spins up a new instance, we experience cold start. And that means that Jeff's function with concurrency set to 20 experienced less cold start, which means that Jeff's web app will generate poems more quickly for more users. Another benefit of needing fewer instances is that Jeff may end up paying less. How is that possible? With concurrency, Cloud Function can fully utilize the CPU and memory resources that are assigned to each instance. Consider Jeff's code again. Instead of spending most of his time waiting for the response from the POM API from a single API request, the instance with concurrency set to 20 can go and do something more productive, like process another request.
Wow, thanks, Daniel. I know you set concurrency to 20, but I see in the documentation that the concurrency limit is 1,000. I'm just going to set my poem generating function's concurrency all the way up to 1,000 to take advantage of the magic of concurrency.
Not so fast, Jeff. Remember that concurrency is about sharing resources on an instance among multiple requests. So, if your concurrency is set too high, a request might struggle to get the CPU and memory resources it needs to process the request. Now, there isn't a magic formula we can use to determine the concurrency setting that is correct for any app. So my recommendation is to start low and slowly ramp up the concurrency setting to find a good number that's a good match for your API. That can be 100, that can be 1. It really depends on what the server code is doing.
Okay. It's not magic. But I'm still excited to hear that concurrency can both improve performance and reduce the cost of functions. We've covered a lot here. Let's recap everything we've discussed. We know Cloud Functions for Firebase lets us add all kinds of functionality to our app without having to manage or scale our own servers. And now, in the second generation of Cloud Functions for Firebase, we can finally use another programming language, Python, and the awesome ecosystem of libraries that accompanies it. We can also tune our functions to reduce cold starts with concurrency. And the second-gen infrastructure has graduated from public preview and is now generally available, which means we're confident that it will serve you well in production apps. If you'd like to try building second-gen functions with Node or Python, take a look at the Firebase docs, which have helpful guides and code snippets to explain every aspect of Cloud Functions for Firebase. Or peruse the Function Samples GitHub repository to see example code built to show the kinds of problems that can be solved with Cloud Functions. You can even jump straight into code by using the Firebase CLI's Firebase init functions command to generate some starter code for you. Then, you're just a Firebase deploy away from working functions. We can't wait to see what you build with Python functions, and hope you learned how to make faster, cheaper, serverless APIs for your Firebase app, with the help of concurrency, on Cloud Functions for Firebase 2nd Gen. Thanks for learning about functions with us. Daniel and I hope you enjoyed this session and have a happy Google I/O.